The iPad was warm when I picked it up. Not physically, emotionally. It sat on the kitchen counter like it belonged there, screen dark, case clean, perfectly innocent. She'd left it behind in a rush. Therapy session, she said. Always therapy, always the same excuse wrapped in soft concern for her own healing. A notification blinked to life. Session notes, updated. No password. She never locked it around me. I stood there longer than I should have, listening to the hum of the refrigerator, the distant traffic outside, the sound of my own breathing, steady, controlled. I told myself I wasn't afraid of what I might find. That was a lie. I tapped the screen. A white page opened, clean margins, neat paragraphs, dates lined up like a confession waiting for permission. I didn't read yet. I already felt the shift. That subtle internal click when something fragile finally breaks, but does so quietly, like glass wrapped in cloth. This wasn't curiosity. This was instinct. Whatever lived inside that screen had already started rearranging my life. I just hadn't seen the damage yet. I scrolled once, and the first sentence erased 10 years of trust. She didn't call it an affair. That was the first thing that struck me. She used softer words, safer ones: connection, escape, feeling seen, the kind of language people use when they want absolution without consequence. Each entry was dated, organized, almost proud. She wrote about him like a case study, how he listened, how he made her feel alive again, how she learned to lie better, to me, after every session, how guilt faded once she gave it structure. I felt nothing at first. That scared me more than anger ever could. I read slowly, carefully, like I was handling evidence at a crime scene. No sudden movements, no emotional fingerprints, just observation. The memories began rearranging themselves on their own. Late nights suddenly made sense. The emotional distance, the way she studied my face sometimes, like she was checking whether I suspected anything. I scrolled past months, then years. She'd been confessing all along, just not to me. I closed the iPad, sat down, stared at the wall. There was a moment, brief, dangerous, where denial tried to take control, where I told myself this could be a metaphor, a therapeutic exercise, fiction even. But denial requires imagination, and imagination was something she'd already used up. I didn't confront her. That would have been sloppy. Instead, I adjusted. I smiled more, asked about her day, made coffee in the mornings, let her believe I was still asleep when she slipped out of bed to message him. Inside, I was cataloging. Phone records confirmed what the notes hinted at: long calls disguised as work, locations that didn't match her stories, a pattern so clean it felt rehearsed. I never raised my voice, never accused, never even hinted. That restraint became my armor. At night, while she slept beside me, I replayed her words from the iPad, how she described my trust as something she'd outgrown, how she practiced empathy for me the way one practices a speech, rehearsed, hollow. I copied everything: screenshots, backups, cloud storage she didn't know existed. Her confessions preserved exactly as she'd written them, unedited, unprotected. The most painful part wasn't the betrayal, it was the efficiency. She hadn't fallen into an affair, she'd engineered one, balanced it against our life with precision. I was a variable she thought she had already solved. That's when I knew. This wouldn't end with shouting. It would end with silence. I chose a quiet evening. No special occasion, no raised stakes, just dinner on the table and the illusion of normalcy intact. After we ate, I placed the iPad between us. Unlocked. Open. She looked at it once, then again. Her face changed in stages: confusion, recognition, panic. She reached for it. I slid it just out of reach. "You don't need to explain," I said. My voice surprised her, calm, almost kind. She tried anyway. Words spilled out, context, feelings, therapy jargon. Tears arrived right on schedule. I listened, not because I needed answers, but because I wanted her to realize I already had them. When she finished, I handed her the device. "Read it again," I said, out loud. She couldn't. Her hands shook. Her breathing broke. The reality hit her all at once. Not that I knew, but that I had always been watching from the moment I found out. That's when the power shifted. The revenge wasn't loud. It was procedural. I'd already sent copies of her session notes to the one place she never thought to guard, her carefully curated image. Not publicly, not cruelly, just enough truth placed precisely where denial couldn't survive. Her world didn't explode, it collapsed. Opportunities vanished, trust eroded, conversations ended mid-sentence when her name was mentioned. The man she wrote about disappeared the moment consequences arrived. I didn't gloat. I packed a single bag, left the house key on the counter beside the iPad. As I walked out, she called my name, once, then again. I didn't turn around. The cruelest thing you can do to someone who thought they controlled the narrative is to exit it completely. I don't hate her. Hate requires attachment. What I feel now is clarity. The story she wrote about herself ended the moment I stopped participating in it. The confessions she thought were safe became the record of her undoing. I didn't destroy her. I simply let her words speak where I no longer would. Some nights I think about that first sentence I read, how it rewrote my life in silence. Then I remember something important. I wasn't betrayed when I found out. I was freed, and I never looked back.